What if the myths you grew up hearing weren't just stories? Imagine if the legends you've heard all your life, fire-breathing dragons, sunken cities, and warrior queens, weren't just myths. What if buried beneath the stories were real historical events waiting to be uncovered? What if Atlantis, the Great Flood, or even fire-breathing dragons were based on real events? It sounds impossible, but history and archaeology suggest that some myths may contain hidden truths, distorted memories of real places, creatures, and disasters that left a lasting mark on ancient cultures. Welcome to Armchair Archaeology, where we explore the past to uncover the truth behind legends. In today's video, we're diving into ancient myths that might have real historical foundations. From the discovery of Troy to warrior women who may have inspired the Amazons, we'll explore how history and mythology intertwine in fascinating ways. And stay with us until the end, because we're revealing an astonishing scientific reason why people may have believed dragons could breathe fire. The explanation might just change the way you see mythology forever. Let's get started. If you're fascinated by the hidden truths behind ancient myths, make sure to subscribe to Armchair Archaeology and turn on notifications. We uncover history's biggest mysteries every week. Many once dismissed Homer's Iliad as just an epic tale, an ancient work of fiction filled with gods, heroes, and a legendary war over the beautiful Helen of Troy. But what if it was more than just a story? What if the city of Troy actually existed, and the war Homer described was based on real events? In the 19th century, German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann set out to prove just that. Using clues from the Iliad, he began excavations in modern-day Turkey and uncovered the ruins of a great city. Even more astonishing, he found evidence of destruction: charred walls, arrowheads, and collapsed buildings, all suggesting that a violent conflict took place there. One layer of the site, dating to around 1200 BCE, aligns with the traditional timeline of the Trojan War. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Some historians believe the war wasn't really about Helen of Troy, but about control of valuable trade routes. Troy was located near the Dardanelles, a key waterway connecting the Aegean and Black Seas, an area highly coveted by rival powers. Was the war fought for love, as Homer described, or was it an economic struggle disguised as legend? Conflicts over strategic trade routes have shaped history for centuries, from the Silk Road to modern maritime disputes. And what about the famous wooden horse? While there's no archaeological proof of it, some experts theorize it may represent a military deception tactic, or even a metaphor for an earthquake, since Poseidon, god of earthquakes, was also associated with horses. Even though we may never know all the details, Schliemann's discovery shattered the belief that Troy was pure fiction. It proved that myths can preserve fragments of real history, hidden beneath layers of storytelling and time. And this wouldn't be the last time archaeology turned legend into reality. Picture this: a village suddenly swallowed by water, families scrambling to higher ground as their world disappears. These stories aren't just myths, they may be memories of real catastrophes. Flood myths exist in nearly every culture. The biblical story of Noah's Ark, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, Hindu legends of Manu, and Chinese tales of Yu the Great all describe a catastrophic deluge that wiped out civilizations. But could these stories be more than just myths? Could they be distant memories of real disasters? Geological evidence suggests they might be. One of the most compelling theories links the Great Flood myth to an event around 5600 BCE, when the Mediterranean Sea surged through the Bosporus Strait, rapidly flooding a massive stretch of land and transforming a freshwater lake into the Black Sea. The sudden rise in water levels would have displaced thousands of people, possibly inspiring flood legends that were passed down for generations. Another theory ties these myths to the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 years ago, when melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise dramatically. Coastal settlements may have been swallowed by water, leaving behind fragmented memories of a world-changing disaster. Even today, ruins of ancient cities lie beneath the sea, hidden relics of civilizations lost to time. One of the most astonishing discoveries comes from Mesopotamia itself. In the 1920s, archaeologist Leonard Woolley excavated the ancient city of Ur and found a deep layer of flood sediment dating to around 3000 BCE. This suggests a massive flood devastated the region, eerily similar to the story in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Could Noah's Ark and Gilgamesh's flood be different versions of the same real event? While no single flood explains every myth, one thing is clear. Throughout history, humanity has been shaped by natural disasters so powerful they became legend. What's your take? Are these flood myths distant echoes of real disasters, or do you think they're purely symbolic? Share your thoughts in the comments. Few myths have captured the imagination like the story of Atlantis. First mentioned by the Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE, Atlantis was described as a powerful, advanced civilization that mysteriously vanished beneath the sea. Some believe it was just an allegory, a cautionary tale about hubris and the downfall of great nations. But could Plato have been drawing from real historical events? One of the strongest theories links Atlantis to the Minoan civilization, which thrived on the island of Crete over 3,500 years ago. The Minoans built grand palaces, developed sophisticated trade networks, and even had advanced plumbing systems. But around 1600 BCE, disaster struck. A massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, triggered tsunamis and earthquakes, devastating Minoan cities. The civilization never fully recovered, and their once thriving world slowly faded away. This lines up eerily well with Plato's account of Atlantis, a wealthy island civilization that was destroyed in a single catastrophic event. While Plato's timeline places Atlantis much earlier, some historians believe he may have been referencing older oral traditions or embellishing a real disaster for dramatic effect. Another possible inspiration is the Greek city of Helike, which was swallowed by an earthquake and tsunami in 373 BCE. Ancient writers recorded its sudden disappearance, and in the late 20th century, archaeologists uncovered its ruins beneath the Gulf of Corinth. The mystery of lost civilizations continues to captivate us. From submerged ruins found off the coasts of India and Japan, to modern theories about climate change threatening coastal cities, Atlantis represents a timeless human obsession. The fear that great civilizations can rise, thrive, and then disappear without a trace. Could future archaeologists one day tell stories of our own lost cities? Ancient Greek myths tell of the Amazons, fierce, independent warrior women who rivaled the greatest male heroes in battle. For centuries, historians dismissed them as pure fantasy, believing the Greeks had invented them as an exaggeration of foreign cultures or as a way to explore the idea of a world ruled by women. But modern archaeology tells a different story, one that suggests these legendary warriors may have been inspired by real people. Excavations across the Eurasian steppes, from Ukraine to Mongolia, have uncovered burial sites where women were laid to rest with weapons, bows, swords, and armor. These graves belong to the Scythians, a nomadic people known for their horseback warfare. What's even more astonishing is that forensic analysis of these skeletons reveals battle injuries, proving that many of these women were active warriors. Some even had arrowheads lodged in their bones, clear evidence that they fought and died in combat. Ancient Greek historians, such as Herodotus, described encounters with warrior women from this region. The Greeks, unfamiliar with cultures where women fought alongside men, may have exaggerated these stories over time, transforming real Scythian women into the mythical Amazons, an all-female society of fighters. Even more interesting, Scythian women didn't just fight, they lived in a society where both men and women had a degree of equality rarely seen in the ancient world. This challenges long-held beliefs about gender roles in history. But the legend of the Amazons hasn't faded. Today, their influence is everywhere, from the warriors of Wonder Woman to the elite female fighters in Black Panther. The idea of powerful women in combat, once thought to be a fantasy, has turned out to be an ancient reality. And as more archaeological discoveries emerge, we may find that history was far more diverse and far more legendary than we ever imagined. If you love uncovering real stories behind ancient myths, our ebook, Secrets of the Ancient World, is packed with fascinating insights on lost civilizations, forgotten technologies, and legendary artifacts. Grab your copy from the pinned comment. The myth of the Minotaur is one of the most famous in Greek mythology, a monstrous half-man, half-bull, trapped in a vast underground labyrinth beneath the palace of King Minos. According to legend, Athens was forced to send human tributes into the maze, where they would be devoured by the beast. The hero Theseus eventually slew the Minotaur and escaped using a ball of thread to navigate the labyrinth. But could this terrifying tale have been inspired by real events? Archaeological excavations in Crete suggest it might have been. In the early 20th century, British archaeologist Arthur Evans unearthed the ruins of the massive Minoan palace of Knossos, dating back over 3,500 years. What he found was astonishing: an enormous multi-leveled structure filled with twisting corridors, staircases, and complex rooms. To an outsider, it could have easily seemed like an inescapable labyrinth. Even more intriguingly, the Minoans had a deep cultural connection to bulls. Their artwork, pottery, and frescoes frequently depict bull-leaping rituals, dangerous performances where athletes would vault over the backs of live bulls. Could this practice have inspired the idea of a monstrous half-bull creature? Some scholars believe the Minotaur myth may be a distorted memory of these rituals, transformed over centuries into a terrifying legend. But the connections don't stop there. The very word labyrinth may come from the Minoan word labris, meaning double axe, a key symbol in Minoan religion. The palace of Knossos was filled with images of these axes, further reinforcing the idea that its sprawling layout was the origin of the famous maze. While there was never a real Minotaur lurking beneath Knossos, the myth may have preserved echoes of an advanced, mysterious civilization, one that was eventually lost to time. Loving these myth-busting discoveries? Consider supporting the channel with a super thanks. It helps us bring you more stories from the ancient world. Across North America, indigenous tribes tell stories of the Thunderbird, a massive, powerful bird whose wings created thunderclaps and whose eyes flashed lightning. Some legends even describe it carrying away whales or battling great horned serpents in the sky. While many see the Thunderbird as purely mythical, could this legend have been inspired by real prehistoric discoveries? One theory suggests that ancient people may have stumbled upon fossils of massive flying reptiles such as Quetzalcoatlus. This pterosaur had a wingspan of up to 36 feet, 11 meters, making it one of the largest flying creatures to have ever existed. If early humans discovered its enormous bones eroding from rock formations, they might have imagined a sky-dominating beast unlike anything alive today. But the connection doesn't end with fossils. Some Thunderbird descriptions don't mention feathers at all, instead portraying the creature with leathery wings, a detail that closely matches a pterosaur's anatomy. Could these oral traditions preserve ancient memories of something real? Another possible inspiration comes from encounters with actual giant birds. The now extinct Argentavis magnificens, which lived in South America, had a wingspan of nearly 23 feet, 7 meters. While there's no evidence it survived into human history, similar large birds, such as condors and golden eagles, might have contributed to Thunderbird legends. Some indigenous traditions even describe the Thunderbird as both protector and punisher, a spirit associated with storms, hunting, and warfare. Sightings of unusually large birds still spark speculation across North America, whether inspired by fossils, real birds, or both. The Thunderbird legend reminds us how ancient cultures blended the known and the unknown, creating myths that still capture our imagination today. Legends of giants appear in cultures across the world. The Bible speaks of the Nephilim, Norse mythology tells of the Jotun, and Greek myths warn of the mighty Titans. These colossal beings were often depicted as ancient rulers, powerful warriors, or even enemies of the gods. But could the idea of giants have been influenced by real discoveries? One possibility comes from the fossils of prehistoric megafauna. Throughout history, people have uncovered enormous bones, massive femurs, skulls, and teeth that didn't seem to belong to any known animals. The bones of mammoths, mastodons, and giant ground sloths, for example, could have easily been mistaken for the remains of enormous humanoid beings. Without the knowledge of paleontology, ancient people might have interpreted these fossils as proof that giants once walked the earth. Another theory suggests that myths of giants were fueled by encounters with unusually tall humans. Conditions like gigantism, a rare disorder caused by excessive growth hormone production, can result in individuals reaching extraordinary heights. The remains of ancient individuals over 7 feet tall have been found in various burial sites, such as the so-called Roman giants, discovered in Italy. While rare, such people would have stood out in ancient societies and may have inspired exaggerated stories over time. Even in North America, some Native American tribes speak of battling red-haired giants, said to be fierce enemies of their ancestors. While stories like these remain controversial, they reveal a common human fascination with beings who tower over us. Could myths of giants stem from a mix of fossil discoveries, real human anomalies, and storytelling? While no race of colossal humanoids has ever been found, history shows that legends often arise from a blend of reality and imagination. The Cyclops is one of the most iconic monsters in Greek mythology, a towering, one-eyed giant with incredible strength. According to legend, these fearsome beings lived on remote islands, forged weapons for the gods, and sometimes devoured unlucky travelers. But what if the myth of the Cyclops wasn't just a story? Could it have been inspired by something real? Some historians believe that ancient blacksmiths may have played a role in shaping the legend. In Greek mythology, the Cyclopes were known as master metalworkers, crafting powerful weapons like Zeus's thunderbolt. In reality, early blacksmiths often worked in harsh, smoke-filled conditions, which could cause eye infections or even blindness. Some scholars suggest that real craftsmen, possibly injured or blinded from years of working near fire and molten metal, may have contributed to the idea of one-eyed giants. But there's an even more compelling theory, one that ties the Cyclops to prehistoric fossils. On islands like Crete and Sicily, ancient people may have stumbled upon the massive skulls of dwarf elephants, which feature a large central nasal cavity. To someone unfamiliar with elephant anatomy, this hole might have looked like a single enormous eye socket in the middle of the forehead. With no knowledge of extinct species, early Greeks could have assumed they had found the remains of a terrifying, one-eyed giant. Misidentified fossils have fueled myths for centuries and still do. In China, ancient dinosaur bones were often believed to be the remains of dragons, while in Europe, large femur fossils were sometimes mistaken for the bones of biblical giants. This wouldn't be the only time fossils influenced mythology. Could the Cyclops legend be another example? While no true one-eyed giants ever roamed the earth, the myth itself may be a distorted memory of real discoveries. Want to dive even deeper into the mysteries of the past? Our ebook, Secrets of the Ancient World, explores lost cities, ancient technologies, and the real stories behind legendary myths. Find the link in the pinned comment. The phoenix is one of mythology's most fascinating creatures, a magnificent bird that bursts into flames at the end of its life, only to rise from its own ashes. This symbol of rebirth and immortality appears in cultures across the world, from the Egyptian Bennu bird to the Persian simurgh and the Chinese fenghuang. But could this legendary creature have been inspired by real-world observations? One possible explanation comes from the Bennu bird, a sacred heron in ancient Egyptian mythology associated with the sun god Ra. The Bennu was said to renew itself, much like the phoenix, and was linked to the cycle of the sun rising and setting each day. Since ancient Egyptians believed in life, death, and rebirth as part of the cosmic order, a bird that symbolized renewal made perfect sense in their spiritual traditions. Another theory ties the phoenix legend to natural disasters, especially volcanic eruptions. Ancient people often saw fire and destruction followed by regrowth. Entire landscapes covered in ash would eventually give rise to new plant life. To those who witnessed such devastation and renewal, the idea of a creature that could emerge from flames might not have seemed so far-fetched. A more biological explanation comes from real bird behavior. Certain birds, including some species of storks and vultures, engage in a practice called smoke bathing, where they stand near wildfires or smoldering wood to rid themselves of parasites. To ancient observers, this could have looked like birds deliberately entering fire and emerging unharmed, reinforcing the myth of a fire-born creature. While no bird truly rises from the ashes, the phoenix legend reflects humanity's deep fascination with renewal and transformation, an idea that still resonates today in literature, religion, and even pop culture. Dragons are among the most widespread mythical creatures appearing in cultures across the world. From the fire-breathing beasts of Europe to the celestial dragons of China and the feathered serpents of Mesoamerica, these creatures have fascinated humanity for millennia. But why did so many different civilizations, separated by vast distances, all develop stories about enormous reptilian monsters? Could dragons have been inspired by real discoveries? One compelling theory suggests that ancient people uncovered dinosaur fossils and interpreted them as the remains of dragons. In China, where dragon myths have existed for thousands of years, massive fossilized bones were sometimes mistaken for evidence of these legendary creatures. Even today, the Chinese word for dinosaur literally translates to terrible dragon, showing how closely the two ideas remain connected. In Europe, large curved skulls and enormous vertebrae may have sparked fears of giant, serpentine monsters. The ancient Greeks, for example, may have encountered the fossilized skulls of Protoceratops, a dinosaur with a beaked, frilled skull. To someone unfamiliar with extinct reptiles, it might have looked like the remains of a dragon. Similar fossil discoveries around the world could have fueled myths of enormous, fearsome creatures lurking in caves and mountains. Another possible influence comes from real animals. The Komodo dragon, the largest living lizard today, is a powerful predator capable of taking down large prey. Some early explorers encountering these giant lizards may have exaggerated their size and abilities, further shaping dragon folklore. Even crocodiles, which have existed since the time of the dinosaurs, could have contributed to the image of long-bodied, armor-scaled beasts. Dragons have stood the test of time, dominating films, books, and video games. Could our fascination with them stem from ancient fossil discoveries? While real dragons never existed, the stories they inspired have endured, blending history, imagination, and our endless curiosity about the past. Want to keep exploring the mysteries of history? Secrets of the Ancient World uncovers lost cities, mind-blowing ancient tech, and the real stories behind legendary myths. Get your copy now, link in the pinned comment. As we've seen, many ancient myths may have roots in real history. The fall of Troy, once thought to be pure legend, turned out to be based on a real city. Flood myths from around the world may preserve memories of catastrophic disasters. Even creatures like the Cyclops and dragons could have been inspired by fossil discoveries. Time and imagination have transformed these stories into legends, but beneath the layers of myth, fragments of truth may still be waiting to be uncovered. But what if fire-breathing dragons weren't just the stuff of fairy tales? What if ancient people actually saw something that made them believe these creatures were real? And now, as promised, here's the surprising reason why people may have believed dragons could breathe fire. It might have been inspired by real natural gas vents. In some regions, underground pockets of methane or other flammable gases can seep through cracks in the earth. When ignited by lightning or other sparks, these vents can produce bursts of flame that seem to erupt from nowhere. If ancient people saw fire suddenly emerging from caves or mountains, they may have imagined a hidden creature lurking beneath, one capable of breathing fire. It's a scientific explanation for one of mythology's most dramatic elements. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history and mythology. If you enjoyed this journey into myth and history, you might love our deep dives into some of them in previous videos. Check them out next. The links are in the description. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Armchair Archaeology for more deep dives into ancient mysteries. And we want to hear from you. Which myth do you think has a real historical basis? Or if you could choose one legend to be real, which would it be? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the wonder of history alive.